Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the Standards Weekly Check-In. I'm Colin. Behind the camera we got Dylan.
What's up?
Today we are going to be getting into some staff picks, flipping through some new arrivals, and answering your YouTube questions. As always, if you see anything you like, you can hit us on the DMs on Instagram, give the shop a ring, or just come in. We're open 11 to 8, 7 days a week. So without further ado, let's get into some, I hesitate to call these staff picks. These are, will you start first, because I have a lot to get through.
Yeah, for my picks, I'm gonna say Thin Lizzy. I've been on a kick lately. I don't know what it is. I guess I just want that dual guitar tone. Great stuff. I would say out of these two, though, Nightlife is my favorite. Bad Reputation is not a bad record, though, and we do have Fighting, which is also a great one. Check these out if you haven't, but I hope you have already so far.
I've been leaning, when I go to listen to Thin Lizzy lately, it's usually the 80s stuff. Yeah. Chinatown I like a lot.
Yeah, Chinatown's great.
Yeah. I used to, it was like Jailbreak and Bad Reputation and like some Johnny the Fox. That was like where I hung my hat in the Thin Lizzy catalog, but lately, I don't know. So yeah, we got a big stack, as you can see, of mostly punk and underground metal reissues or new arrivals. So we're just going to go rapid fire through these, kind of give you guys a bearing. I'm really excited about this. This is a very great compilation of Finnish hardcore. It's like a master class, like if you've ever been curious about 80s Finnish hardcore, the lineup kind of speaks for itself on here. The Chaos tracks are especially great, but I mean, almost every one of these bands has like multiple records. I think NATO, I don't know those guys, so I'll deduct my cool points for that. But I think NATO have a demo that recently got reissued. 013 we're going to be hearing about later. But yeah, this is just a 101 course that will open up a gate of the early 80s Finnish scene, which took me a long time to figure out that music. I'm not going to lie. I'm not someone I wasn't born with a Ristatit record in my hand. I didn't didn't click immediately, but after years and years of listening to stuff, it's great. And this compilation is a very fine serving. This is a newer thrash band, very, very, very Teutonic German thrash revival. I think this came out fairly recently, but adequate job of that. This is a weird one. We got 2 RF7 reissues in. This is a record from 1991, and that will weird a lot of people out. I know 91 is not like the year people think of a lot of classic SoCal punk coming out of, but for a band that was around, this is, I don't know, there's an argument could be made that like of all the first generation hardcore bands to put out an album in the 90s, this might be about as good as any of them got. Really good, just like construction worker punk, like just roughneck, like failing your piss test, reporting to your PO, like real thug punk stuff. Just I like RF7 a lot though, and if you want to hear some of their more classic material, Weight of the World is good, and this is a really good EP as well. It has a Submit to Them Freely as bonus tracks. I feel like RF7 are a first-rate SoCal group that just don't get their due, and I for the most part don't really like a lot of Southern California punk from the early 80s, like just that whole suburbia kind of scene is like just, as time is, I loved it when I was a kid. If you're like 16 and you don't love the adolescence, like you're a weirdo. But at 39, I don't reach for a lot of that stuff often. RF7 though, timeless, really good lyricists. I'll just put it like that. 013 is another Finnish group reissue that came out. There's been some international pressings, but this is, I believe, the first domestic pressing. Just good, kind of like first gen Finnish punk, so before like the hardcore stuff really sets in, you got these guys, and this is really great formerly obscure album that can be had for very reasonably priced. Mobs, this is some Japanese demo, really rough quality on this one, kind of like for madmen only, but if you know your Japanese hardcore, you know that Mobs demo is very scarce to come by, so this might be your best way to hear it. Beaton Combo, some German punk, a little bit post-punk flavor, early 80s, very good. I don't know, German punk it's good. This is a good record. It's a newer band. Who's they have members of? Doom and Anti-C-Mix, and they're kind of going, I think Inepsy got mentioned in like their write-up. It's very like motor rockin' crust. But just it's an enjoyable style, especially played by some veterans of that world. So yeah, I'd give a thumbs up to this one. Definitely worth a listen. Yeah, and this is kind of another newer crust band with someone from Misery, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, this is a British group, members of Hiatus and Health Hazard, who are very much so backed hard. More gloomy, kind of heavy crust, but if you're a fan of gloomy, heavy crust, and who isn't? There we go. This is a 10 out of 10. I'm so hyped on this. I didn't know this band. I think they were like, they're an early 80s Finnish group, demo only. I think they were from the same town as Shitlickers, maybe Anti-Semics, don't quote me on that. Sounds a lot like the first Anti-Semic 7-inch, Anarchist Attack, which still is when they had like a little more of like some of that first generation punk transitioning into hardcore sound. This is great. It's not good, it is great. I mean, a lot of demo and reissue material can kind of be like, you know, not really essential, but there's not a whole lot that I hear from that era now that like really blows me away that I haven't heard before. This is out of the blue. And again, I'm probably behind on this one. Maybe this is like one of those Blogspot MP3 trading around classics, and I'm way behind the times. But 10 out of 10. Get the Nissus Nodder. Essential. This is probably one of the coolest records we have in the store right now. Look, let's take a little break here. Slow it down. We don't talk about slam death a lot, do we?
No.
It's still, I think it's mostly because it's not a vinyl genre, you know, very still in like the CDR Bandcamp world with like true slam death, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But man, when it's good, it's I think it's like the final boss of like underground music or of like death metal still, you know? Like there's nothing cool about it. All the covers look really bad. There's no one hunting down like vintage Devourment shirts, you know, like there's Cephalotripsy. Like Cephalotripsy aren't even on Spotify, and they're like probably one of the like most known bands in that genre. But this record is like A+ slam death, like just plonging drums, gravity blast, guttural slams. If you like that sound, this is amazing. Cerebral and gore. I think all the good bands have cerebral in their names. I think that's like the slam death way of saying like
we're good.
Yeah, or like, you know, like if you're a black metal band, you have to put like satanic or blackened or darkened.
Yeah.
If you're like a straight edge band, you know, it's like something youth, or like, you know, mm-hmm. If you're a slam death band, you put cerebral. Anyways, great record. This is a reissue of a 1990 Connecticut group. I enjoyed it. This is another one that was new to me, and I like that discharge shirt. All these guys are cool. They're like East Coast guys. A lot of PTL Club stuff getting repped, which like always cool to see PTL Club shirts on like your metal bands, you know. But really good. I would call it death thrash. They compared it to like Repulsion a lot in the write-up, and not too far from that. But yeah, Atrocity, 1990 release, really good. And this is a newer death metal band. Actually, these are both newer death metal bands. We'll wrap it up here. Really good, fast, technical, really good, weird. Just weird. A lot of like dirgy parts. If you're a fan of the old Death Doom, a lot of like kind of spacey, atmospheric. Maybe not even atmospheric, but just heavy, bludgeoning spaces. Anyways, both good. That said, let's get to the old flip through, and here we go. We have a short flip through.
Yeah.
I have a short question.
Okay, what's the question?
What is your Batman? Like the definitive version of Batman for you?
Dark Knight.
Yeah. Christian Bale,
Yeah.
Dark Knight?
I remember in the 8th grade, Dark Knight came out.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen Batman Begins, but when Dark Knight came out, I saw it in theaters like 5 times.
Yeah.
I was like...
No, I feel like I definitely saw Dark Knight at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises quite a few times too.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are masterpieces.
Yeah.
We're bringing this up because the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are on HBO Max. I'm trying to get into that ASAP. I think it's weird this is gonna sound weird, because I think even when I was a kid, my Batman is always a comic book Batman. If I'm forced to really think about like what I think Batman is, it's like Frank Miller's Batman, like Dark Knight Returns and from Year One. It sounds so, is that sound elitist? I don't know. Sound pretentious? My Batman is Frank Miller's Batman.
I mean, I don't know.
But if I were to have like a platonic ideal, like if I could introduce an alien to Batman, I would give him like Denny O'Neil's run, like the 70s Batman. I think that's like gray, blue, and yellow era Batman, outfit wise, not emotionally.
No, he was gray and blue and yellow.
But that's probably the platonic ideal. But I've the comics I've read the most have been the Frank Miller graphic novels, or the comics that are later collected as graphic novels. And we got some tapes dropped off, some local metal stuff. Decrepitaph, not gonna try, and Conjure It. So yeah, if you want some metal tapes, $6 a pop, we got them, baby. Okay, YouTube comments. We only have one question this week from a name that I'm going to pronounce as Bicycletus, because I think it's funnier to pronounce it like that. Bicycletus asks, any cool stories about randomly coming across a rare/signed/test press record? I had to think about that for a while, because I think the fantasy that I've had since I was a youth was like going through a record and pulling it out, and it's a test press, and they didn't know, That's never happened. Signed stuff is weird. That's kind of like, I feel like a world of memorabilia rather than records, if that makes any sense. If you have a signed Jimi Hendrix record, the record is almost unimportant. Signature is what matters. So you're in kind of a different zone. And I think as professional, me with the professional hat on, like, you don't really want, there's nothing cool about like underpaying people. I feel like, and when people bring records in to the store, it's kind of like, you gotta price them fairly. There's nothing cool about, especially if you're trying to be, if you're in it for the long haul, you don't want to be like shortchanging people on their rare records that they bring in. I do have one with the first story that came to mind in terms of like an old ancient me having a store. I think this was like, if I had to put the era, it was like before Discogs. It was so old, I remember, this is probably like the last time this made any sense to do, but I'm pretty sure I drove to LA. I won a record off of eBay, and I drove to LA to pick it up because the guy said he had other records to look through, right? And I'm pretty sure I printed out the directions on MapQuest and called the guy on a payphone when I didn't have a cell phone. Anyways, but we link up, and it was like kind of the dream, like that you rarely ever hear about happening, especially anymore, which is just a guy with a bunch of records who's just like, yeah, I don't know what the fucking prices are on these. And to be fair, it was, since a lot of this stuff wasn't really like, I don't know, as cataloged in terms of value and price as it is now, we were kind of like guessing with a lot of the numbers. And he had the Swedish band, the Shitlickers, they may have mentioned earlier. He had their 7-inch, and it had like the blank label, and I was like, yeah, I think this is a bootleg, and if you want, you do like $5 for it. He's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, is it a boot? I was like, yeah, it's got the white labels. Just genuinely ignorant that record comes with white labels, and it's like an original pressing, and I still have that record, and it is it's like one of the best like Swedish hardcore records, really one of the best like 80s hardcore records, really hard to find, and that was probably one of my few cool record scores in the proper sense, that I can think of. But yeah, so there we go. Story time. Hey, if you want to have any questions answered on our video, leave a comment in the see that? This is professional shit right here. Leave a comment down below in the on the YouTube video, and we'll address it next week. And until then, thanks for stopping by. Take care. Bye. Not gonna try.